Bring this down a little bit. Good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome to Unitarian Universalist Church West on this very special September Sunday. Here in Brookfield, Wisconsin, it's good to be together. My name's Barb Holzhauer. I serve on the UUCW Board of Trustees. I've been a member here for about a year and a half, and I'm happily connected with many different areas of this church and hope you feel that same way too. Today, engaging with the monthly theme, The Gift of Welcome, we're exploring the gift of covenant. We often speak of being a covenanted community, and yet it's not always clear what that means. Reverend Yulin is planning to share how being in covenant and being welcoming are related, and both are gifts. We come together today from many places, here in the sanctuary, others in their living rooms, or kitchens, or coffee shops, or cars. To all of you online, while we can't see you, we feel your presence, wherever you are right now. I say again, it's good to be together. To all of you out there in virtual land, you are invited to participate in sharing joys and concerns, and you can do that by texting something to Reverend Yulin. So here are a few things to help you settle in for today and feel at home. Today is our first Sunday of the regular morning programming for children and youth. There are a variety of ways for all ages to participate. Our nursery is open, and after the time for all ages, those who wish are invited to go to their classes. And always, all ages are welcome here in the sanctuary. So there is a worship exploration table where we've got some participants right now. And there are some activities for those who choose to stay here. Note that this year, our youth group activities are meeting following the service at 11:30. If you're a newcomer here, I hope you picked up a flyer on the way in that tells you all about what to expect and how to connect. They're in a little stand out there. We'd love to have you fill out the welcome side of the yellow paper that you received when you entered, and hope to see you at the newcomers table in the foyer after the service. If you're online and want more information, please email us at visitor@uucw.org. There's time for coffee, tea, and conversation for everyone following the service. Find a comfortable place to hang out, here, in the community room, in the library, and then challenge yourself to talk to someone you've not met, maybe me. Let's build community together. Today, we are celebrating our music director, Ruben Piirainen, and his 20 years with UUCW. As I was thinking about 20 years, think about where you were 20 years ago. I had just retired from 35 years in public education and was on to another private enterprise. Anyway, that seems like a really long time ago in certain perspectives. So last week, the choir had a lovely surprise celebration for him, and I understand that part of the celebration was the stole that Ruben's wearing, which the choir gave him, and he's now modeling for you. So following our service today, there'll be a celebration and, of course, there'll be cake. Additionally, I want to highlight a couple things that you might find printed in your order of service, but we especially want to bring them to your attention. We are launching an engagement campaign, encouraging everyone to find a way to show up for, to serve, and to be part of this community. The first phase, launching next Sunday, the 24th, is a service challenge. Our goal is for everyone to find some easy ways to serve the congregation, ways that spark your interest or float your boat. We'll be offering multiple possibilities. And here's the challenge. Sign up for at least one of the offerings. You can sign up for more than that, but at least one. So hopefully you'll meet the challenge. That's next week. Then also next week, there's a very special service for being led by the youth group they will be sharing their adventures on their heritage trip to Boston this past summer. So be sure and participate in that. There are just a couple additional things that I wanted to highlight from the announcements that you've got. The return of dinners in the home. I don't know how many of you have participated in those in the past. Last spring and early summer, we had kind of a dinners in the home readiness. It wasn't quite the same format. If you're interested in having an opportunity to get together and talk with other people, get to know people, and enjoy a good meal, it's a perfect opportunity. And then once again, if you want to have lunch with Reverend Hewlin and just get to know what's going on and get to know people on a personal basis, that's another opportunity, Friday, the 6th of October at noon. So some of you might have noticed that I didn't begin with the land acknowledgement. Reverend Hewlin's going to offer that now.
So just about every week for the last year, at the very beginning of the services, we've been making statements about who we are and who we intend to be, by acknowledging the history of the land and the people who were here before us, and by clearly naming our intention to be an anti-racist congregation. We say that we are committed to being an anti-racist community dedicated to equity, racial justice, and right relations. This commitment is especially expressed in our 8th principle, where we aspire to be journeying towards spiritual wholeness by working to build a diverse, multicultural, beloved community by our actions that accountably dismantle racism and other oppressions in ourselves and our institutions. So I want to share about that path, journeying towards spiritual wholeness, and what becoming might look like. Last Sunday, we had a beautiful in-gathering service filled with community energy and great music, and we used an Indigenous story as the framework for that service. In my role as minister, I hold ultimate responsibility for what happens in worship, and I was the one who chose the story and guided the choices around how we told it. And I accept that responsibility and the accountability that comes with it. And after the service, one amongst you had the courage to speak up about that story. It was called The Song That Called Them Home, and about how it was told, naming the disrespect they felt and witnessed. Now, the details are, of course, very important, and while there will be other opportunities to talk about those if you wish, that's not what I choose to focus on in this moment. What I want you to know is this. When we understand that harm is done, it's critical that we own our mistakes, for indeed the impact of our choices matter. It's critical that we engage in the self-reflection necessary to continue on that journey towards spiritual wholeness. I'm so grateful that someone spoke up and for this opportunity to learn, because we can learn from our mistakes and then recommit ourselves to becoming anti-racist as individuals and as a community. Now, today's story is about covenant, and what happened over the course of this past week is among the most beautiful expressions of living within a covenantal faith that I've ever encountered. A covenant in which we share a desire for a different way of being, in which there's permission and space to call each other back into covenant, and a community in which we can learn vulnerably with one another. I'm deeply sorry for any harm that I caused, not the least of which is perpetuating those blind spots where we don't see the ways in which the dominant culture continues to take from those from whom we've already taken so much. So here's the thing. I will, continue to make mistakes. Of this I'm certain. And the important thing is to learn from them and to keep trying to build right relationships, to work for reparations, to do justice, to become increasingly anti-racist. It's a process, it's a journey, and I'm so grateful to be on this path with you. In that spirit, we pray. In that spirit, let's hear our choir sing.
Bright morning stars are rising.
Bright morning stars are rising. Bright morning stars are rising.
Day is a-breaking in my soul. Bright morning stars are rising. Bright morning stars are rising. Bright morning stars are rising. Day is a-breaking in my soul.
Bright morning stars, 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 bright days are breaking in my soul.
Rising, 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 rising,
Where are our dear mothers? Oh, where are our dear mothers? They are sowing seeds of gladness. Day is a-breaking in my soul.
bright morning stars are rising. Bright morning stars are rising. Bright morning stars are rising. Day is a-breaking in my soul.
Bright morning stars are rising. Day breaks on our immense gratitude for life, for family and friends, for the freedom to find our own truth. Day breaks on our bravery to bring all of who we are and to accept one another with compassion and understanding. Day breaks on the comfort we find in gathering in community, upheld by the promises we offer one another, reaffirming each time we gather that we will walk together as we seek wisdom and love, open to the ways of our hearts, willing to name how we have stumbled. Day breaks on us all, here and now, reaching to remember our promises and to vow to live by them once again. Let the light of day bring beauty, truth, and joy into this gathering. Bright morning stars are rising. Those opening words were inspired by things written by the three people you see on the screen: Robin F. Gray, Burton Carley, and Sarah Stewart. And now, let's light our chalice.
I can't see if it's on.
Yeah, it is.
It is, okay. When Unitarian Universalists gather, we light a chalice. And those at home are invited to create a light there as your individual contribution to this sacred fire. Today's chalice lighting words were written by Lucas Hergert as words of affirmation, words of covenant. I invite you to read them with me. Love is the doctrine of this church. Our faith in each other is its sacrament. Working for justice and living with compassion is prayer. Reverently, we covenant together to side with love, to heal and not to harm, and to share hope with each other and the world. Technical difficulties. Do I need to turn that off?
Thank you. Okay, you can go back to your seat if you want. So now let's sing together. Please rise in body and or spirit. When we are gathered is number 359 in the Gray Hymnal.
Good morning. I'm Dave Cicero, Director of Lifespan Religious Education here at UU Church West. On another Sunday, I might be coming up here to share a story with you. But today, for our Time for All Ages, we have a different special tradition that we're going to continue, which is to dedicate those among us who have agreed to be religious education teachers in our program here during this year. Many people who discover Unitarian Universalism say that they first came so that their children could have an education, not indoctrination, but education in religion and spirituality. In fact, religious education is a lifelong process, combining insights of the world's religions and philosophies with our own experience of reality and hopes for the future. This morning, we formally dedicate the volunteers who have been called as religious education teachers to help provide faith formation for our children and youth. Without them to share, to nurture, challenge, and mentor, our religious movement would be greatly diminished. In fact, indeed, it would die out. So at this time, I'd like all of you who are here today, who have agreed to help teach in the religious education program, to come forward. Barbara has a short script for you, which you can hold up here. You don't have to bring your order of service with you. And just line up along the chancel, the front of the chancel area. We have some responsive reading. Yeah, thank you. Yeah. You just spread out and face the congregation. That'd be great. Fantastic. As children grow and discover our religious roots, you, too, will be on a journey. For some of you, this is a new adventure. For others, a continuing experience. We thank you and entrust our future and faith into your hands. We appreciate the time, the gifts, and diversity that you're bringing to our religious education program. We want you to bring both your heart and your mind, your love and your reason. We do not expect perfection, and we know that you're fully capable of bringing your authentic self to all that you do. So there are words in the order of service for those of you in the congregation and at home to join in. I'll continue right at the moment, though. We dedicate these teachers as a crucial part of the nourishment of our children's spiritual growth. You who have chosen to teach our children have the special blessing of being not only part of their religious development, but a loving part of their UUCW memories. Now the teachers could read their line, please.
We recognize the trust you are placing in us. We covenant to respect our children as the individuals they are, to encourage exploration and growth, and to keep them safe.
And now children and their parents can join them. We appreciate the time, energy, and love that you will be sharing with us this year. Now if the congregation can please rise as they are able and willing. Do we, the congregants of this liberal religious community, covenant to nurture and support these teachers called to minister to our children, and to acknowledge the great importance of faith formation for all ages? We covenant with the teachers, the children, and the RE staff and community to acknowledge and value the ministry of religious education, to support you to the best of our abilities, and to realize that we are all partners in the growth of all members of this congregation. Now I invite the teachers to return your slips to Barb here, and on the chancel there is a basket. If you could grab a candle. Your name tag might be there as well. It's behind here. If your name tag was available, we added a bead for another year of service. And if you had yours at home, you can return one, and we'll coordinate, and we'll get it all straightened out. And if you could light your candle from the chalice, please. As our teachers receive their name tags with the beads. I'll ask them to lead our children out into the foyer outside the sanctuary where we'll all meet there, and we're all going downstairs for the start, for a big group start. And as the teachers do that, I'll ask the congregation to please join me in singing our recessional. As you go, may joy surround you. As you go, go in peace. Know our love is with you always. As you go, as you go, as you go, may joy surround you. As you go, go in peace. Know our love is with you always. As you go, as you go.
A truly covenanted community is one that has learned and is willing to meet the struggles and experiences of individual life with a communal response. A community who knows who will carry us through when we feel broken and who will celebrate our joys with us. A covenanted community listens to one another with open hearts. So we set aside this time for sharing of joys and sorrows and gratitudes that touch our individual lives and the lives of those we love, be they near or far. It's a way to express and experience the many ways that we're part of each other in an interconnected web of life. We interdepend on one another. Now, in a moment, you'll be invited to come to the mic to share aloud. If you're online and you'd like me to light a candle for you, again, you can send me a text. And if you've not texted me before, just please identify yourself. Or if you in the room would like to share less publicly, you can use the QR code on the order of service or the share side of the yellow slip to put something in writing. Of course, at any time during the week, we encourage you to use the link in the e-news to let us know what's on your heart or how we might support you. Now, what you share aloud today is only for the ears of those gathered now. It won't be included in the posted video of the service. So, come to the mic to speak, or raise your hand and an usher will bring you a mic. I'll light a candle for you. And after each sharing, I invite you all to respond with me. We hold you in love. I have several candles I'd like to light, and if anyone else is still wanting to come up, please do. But I want to light a candle of celebration and support for Planned Parenthood Wisconsin. Many of you, I think, know that following a ruling from Dane County Court saying that the old Wisconsin statute does not prohibit consensual medical abortions, Planned Parenthood Wisconsin has decided to resume providing safe and legal abortion care beginning this next week. So it's a candle of great joy and support for them. And I also light a candle, Shana Tova, for our Jewish siblings who have been celebrating Rosh Hashanah, the new year, over the past couple of days. You know, this is a time to ask for forgiveness and to remember, and a reminder not to repeat those mistakes in the coming year, which is such a good practice for all of us. Shana Tova. And then this week marked the 1-year anniversary of the death of Mahsa Amini in an Iranian jail. We light a candle for the people of Iran who are continuing to work for justice for women and girls. And Friday, September 15th, marked 60 years since a bomb ripped through 16th Street Baptist Church in Birmingham, Alabama, killing 4 young girls, Denise McNair, Cynthia Wesley, Carol Robertson, and Addie Mae Collins. This violent event came just 5 days after Black children had entered formerly all-white schools when desegregation was ordered. So this candle is for all of those girls and for all of us. May we be changed. May we build a better world. And I'm just lighting a candle for all of you online. I don't see any texts, but we know you're there. We care about you. We love you. This candle is for you and whatever's going on in your lives. And one final candle to represent all that remains unspoken, for the things that we hold in the silent sanctuaries of our hearts. May they be held gently there and in the embrace of community. Now, in the stillness and silence of the next few moments, let's hold each other in love. Stillness, silence, it's so important. It's in this space that we can engage all of our senses in listening and in hearing, seeing, and seeing with greater clarity. So let's sing about that. I invite you to sing with me, Winds Be Still. It's number 83. You can stand, you can sit, whatever makes you comfortable, so that you can just connect with the message of this song in this moment. Number 83.
Our reading this morning is I Choose You, I Am Here by Emma Merchant. This reading is one take on what it means to be in covenant as a community. While other people have spoken and written about covenant as a promise, or likened it to the grout that holds us together, Emma Merchant thinks of covenant as a commitment to love. And here are her words. I've never been particularly attached to the idea of family. Do you know the Swiss family Robinson? It's a story of how a family worked together and survived. It never reached beyond a story for me. It never occurred to me that some people actually felt this way towards their own bloodline, that the lineage was actually sacred. To me, it always seemed that blood could be spilled. I've always felt that when people identify family as something important and universal, what they're truly addressing is unconditional love. This is not to say that I hate the idea of family, but I've always been more enchanted by the idea of chosen family. The thought that we are each making a choice to be here in this family, in this community. Now that's powerful. We've actively chosen to come and to be here. I'm not stuck with you because you're my cousin and I'm not allowed to be rude. I could leave if I wanted to, but I don't because of the way that we have each nurtured this community. For I choose to be stuck with you, for better or for worse. And we continuously make this choice over and over and over again. For every time that we're here, that we attend worship, every time we donate our time and our energy, every time we clasp hands in meditation is a promise. I am here for you. The DNA of this community may be metaphorical, but it exists within me. The words covenant and right relation are second nature, placed on my tongue almost since birth, but they are words that I have chosen to bring into my life. For my heart beats with the blood of this church, pounding out, I choose you. I am here. For this is a safe space, a place of learning, a place of compassion, a space created by the very idea of love. We chose to build a sanctuary because we chose to be together. There is no use for a church of people who hate each other or a church of ghosts. For we make the choice to stay stuck together even when we don't even want to be in the same room with each other. But we always come back to the table because we choose to be together. Through thick and through thin, we choose love. And in hard times, in struggling times, times that we face every day, we come together even closer. For we make the choice to listen to one another. We make the choice to pick each other up. And we make the choice to love each other. For we have built this community with our commitment to that love. And we all have different reasons for being here, but I like to think that we all have one common reason for being here. Love. Over everything else, we are here because we are a people who choose love. We don't have a bloodline, but we have a deep, unconditional love that runs through us all. And we choose that love. We choose each other. And our hearts echo, I choose you. I am here. I am here. I am here.
So I'm sure that you are all aware that we are again coming very close into that time of political debates. And I'm sure you're all really excited about that. You know, one of my pet peeves is that candidates never seem to answer the question that's asked of them. Their answers often seem like complete non sequiturs, as if the candidates are from Mars and the moderators are from Venus. You know, have you ever noticed that? It makes me wonder, when someone asks me what Unitarians believe, why I attempt to answer the question that's asked. My colleague, Mark Skrabetz, tells of such a conversation he had, which began with that question, you know, I hope you don't mind, but I never really understood what it is that Unitarian Universalists believe. Are you Christians? He replied, well, not exactly. We were, and some still are, yet most of us are not. So came another question, well, how does that work? Do you believe in Jesus or not? To which he said, well, not in an orthodox way. Many of us value his teachings, but few, if any, believe that he's the only begotten Son of God and believe in the resurrection on the third day. So there was another question. Well, if you don't believe in resurrection, then what about your own immortality? To which Mark replied, well, you'd have to say we're pretty diverse on that one, too. And another question, y'all believe in God, right? Well, not exactly. Many of us do, each in their own way. Others of us don't find the concept of God a useful one. Maybe you've had a conversation like that and have found that trying to answer the questions as they are put won't ever be able to really share what this faith is all about. So now really it's my aspiration to answer those questions like a political candidate, just completely ignoring the explicit ask and instead sharing what I want to say about who I am and what my faith is all about. What we commonly believe provides no path to an understanding of Unitarian Universalism. Now, just as an aside, I know our theme for this month is the gift of welcome, yet I'm talking about the gift of covenant, and if you're wondering why, well, maybe I'll answer that question later. The question we need to answer is not, what do you believe, but rather, what do you believe in? You know, our faith is non-creedal, which means that Unitarian Universalism is not about what we believe, but rather is about what we choose to believe in. And a good answer to that question is that we believe in the practice of covenant, a practice of choosing to be together in service of things that matter to us and being willing to be changed in community. Because being free from creeds means that we don't have that glue of a common belief to unite us. Our strength, our bond, is found in relationships. Our strength is found in being a covenantal faith, which presents a huge paradigm shift to those who are used to identifying religions on the basis of the commonly held beliefs. We, perhaps counterculturally, would hope to be defined not by beliefs, but by how we choose to live. And yet we're not all that great at talking about or understanding or living into what it means to be a covenantal faith. Now, if you want to go looking, and I think some of you will want to do that, or maybe you want to ask me for recommendations, you can find lots to read about the history of covenant in our faith. I mean, how did we get to be this way? And the telling of that can go back to Transylvania and Francis Devine in the mid-1500s, or more commonly to Dedham, Massachusetts in 1630 and their creation of the Cambridge Platform, which is a foundational document for us. There's lots of easily accessible historical information if you want to go looking. But this morning, I'm more concerned with what it means to live in covenant, to begin to understand with you the lived modern day, right here and now, practice of covenant. I believe that it's especially important to lean into our covenant in times of distress or conflict or transition, because it's our covenant that calls us back into the table again and again. But we do have to understand what it is. A covenant is an expression, in the words of Margaret O'Neill, of the promises and commitments we make to be true to ourselves and to others, to live into our highest ideals, to create communities in which our children may thrive and our elders may share the gift of their wisdom, communities from which we may go forth to create a more just and compassionate world, unquote. I know that's grand, perhaps too grand to grasp, but it's true. Covenant is this prophetic way to reimagine and re-engage what it is that holds us together. We are called into covenant. It's an impulse, a felt response, and we might not ever be able to agree on the belief that we have about the shape or existence of whatever it is that calls us, but still, covenant is a sacred impulse toward all our dreams of beloved community, a community of justice and compassion and equity. You know, covenant is both a noun and a verb. As a noun, it's a stated commitment or even a framed document. In UUCW's history, it's a unison affirmation that's pasted in the back of the hymnals. If you have one and you want to turn to it, you might find this inside the back cover. And presumably, by the way, this is a variation of a much-used covenant that was written by James Vila Blake in 1894, which is also found at number 473 in the hymnal. But the one pasted here reads this: "May love be the spirit of this church. May the quest for truth be its sacrament and service be its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge and freedom, and to help one another in fellowship. This is our aspiration." And I understand that for years this affirmation was read or sung every Sunday. And I think that's a beautiful practice to remind a community of its covenant, a weekly intentional renewal of its promises to one another. But as a verb, a covenant is the practice of the promises we've made, practices that are lived and kept and broken and renewed, and practices to stay at the table long enough to understand each other and mold that beloved community together. As a verb, a covenant must be living, always open to new interpretations that allow for our constant becoming. We are called to co-create our covenant ongoingly. I love how Victoria Safford puts it. She said, "In a tradition," and I would add in a society, "so deeply steeped in individualism, covenant becomes a spiritual practice to ask, to what larger love, to what people, principles, and values and dreams shall we be committed? It calls us to live in the plural," unquote. And here's the thing about UUs, we have this both incredibly strong desire for personal autonomy, that's that right of conscience that's enshrined in our principles, and an irrepressible hope to live together in peace in an interdependent web of existence. And these two commitments seem to compete with each other. We're very intent on claiming our freedom to believe what we must, so we respond to questions about who we are by saying essentially that we can believe whatever we want. We love being heretical people who can choose. It's foundational to who we are. And yet covenant is the other very important part of our foundation. Along with freedom of choice, we make a commitment to freely covenant with one another. And neither of these commitments is sufficient on its own. Free thought is empty without joining together in an embrace of the differences that are engendered by that freedom. And free association without the acceptance of individuality does not allow really for freedom of thought. So are you beginning to make the connection now between covenant and welcome? A covenant is something that can, if practiced faithfully, bring us out of separateness and into deeper, committed connection. We create belonging. We belong to one another through the practice of covenant. Now, there's a warning here, though, endemic to our usual understanding of welcome and belonging. Being in covenant does not mean that we will always fit in. In fact, if we were to fit in all the time, we would never grow or learn by that very important rubbing up against difference. So that's another practice of covenant, to have the courage to be different and to get close enough to know and be known by those who might not act or look like or love like us. So the gift of welcome is essentially dependent on the gift of covenant. When we welcome or are welcomed into a covenantal community, ideally there's an understanding that we are invited to come as we are, and that we will be changed and inspired by our experiences together. Changed not because it's demanded of us as free individuals who wish, but because we as free individuals wish to become better humans every day, every week, every month. And we share this desire within community, that commitment to live in the plural. Though it's likely these old words are due for something of an update, and surely they're due to be repeated regularly, still, they can be spoken as a covenant for this community. May love be the spirit of this church. May the quest for truth be its sacrament and service be its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge and freedom, and to help one another in fellowship. This is our aspiration, our covenant. I close with the words of my friend Jill Cowie, who said, "The only freedom adequate to human dignity is the freedom to do what love asks of us. And the greatest blessings of life come to us and through us to all the world when with intimate and freely bonded companions, we try together to live with the integrity of faithful love." May we welcome one another into an ongoing covenant, each to each and each to all. May it ever be so. Amen.
once again. I'll bring it down a little bit. UUCW helps address human needs and advance social justice in our community through our Split the Plate program. Each month, we give half of our all undesignated offerings to a nonprofit organization as a way to help us live our Unitarian Universalist values. Our Split the Plate partner for September is Good Friend, Inc. With its mission to create autism awareness, Good Friends, Inc. teaches students and employers how acceptance of our differences can grow empathy for individuals on the autism spectrum. Good Friends, Inc. has produced several award-winning films. Here's a short trailer from one of those films used in their peer sensitivity workshop for middle schoolers. Besides creating autism awareness, it teaches how youth can choose to be a good friend.
It's hard to explain, and there's millions of ways it does it. Pretend my hands are my thoughts. When I think about things, they're like floating all over the place, like they're each trying to get at the same time.
I feel like other people without autism are like circles, and me, or other people with autism, are like pentagons.
We decide how we treat those who aren't our friends. How do you treat kids with autism?
Whenever I tried bringing up something that actually bothered me or something about my emotions, they would just turn it into a joke.
I was most impressed with how the young people portrayed themselves and how they were very candid in their answers. It was very impressive.
Because our brains are wired differently, messages sent through the senses are often either exaggerated or understated.
The Choosing to Be a Good Friend movie was amazing. There were times that I wanted to cry. There were times that I did cry. There were times that I wanted to stand up and cheer.
I'm friends with Jacob because he was just really nice.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Good Friend, Inc. knows there's beauty in diversity, there's strength in community, and there's magic in inclusion. To support Good Friend, Inc. anytime this month, go to UUCW's website Donate tab and select the Split the Plate from the menu provided. Or you can text UUCW or mail your donation using the information found here. Thank you for supporting UUCW and Good Friend, Inc. We will now graciously accept your offering.
So now another chance to sing together. I really believe that joining our voice is a great way to have that sense of covenant, of living in the plural. So please rise in body and our spirit to make a joyful noise. Sound over all waters is number 122. Sound over all waters, reach out from the lands, the chorus of voices, the clasping of hands. Rise, hope of all ages, rise like the sun. All speech flow to music, all hearts beat as one. Sing bridal of nations with chorals of love. Sing out the mortal truth and sing in the dawn. With glad jubilation, sing on for the world. The great storm is ending, the clouds are all furled. Sound trumpets of triumph, the marches of peace. East, west, north, and south, when the mortal cease. Sing songs of great joy that the angels began. Give glory to children, to woman and man. Hark, joining the chorus, the heavens resound. The old day is ending, the new day is found. Rise, hope for the ages, arise like the sun. All speech flow to music, all hearts beat as one. Well, now, it's a pretty darn unusual thing for any church anywhere to be able to celebrate a 20-year anniversary with a staff member. John Ruben Piirainen has served UUCW since 2003. So, Ruben, will you join me here? I don't know if you know all this stuff about him. It's right on our website. Ruben holds a Bachelor of Music degree in piano performance from the Lawrence University Conservatory of Music and a Master of Music degree in piano performance from Bowling Green State University. And this one is big. In 2009, Ruben was one of the first graduates of the UUA's Music Leadership Certification Program. He's also a music teacher with the Wisconsin Conservatory of Music and has appeared with the Milwaukee Symphony Orchestra, the Florentine Opera, Present Music, Skylight Music Theater, Milwaukee Opera Theater, Brew City Opera, Opera for the Young, Festival City Symphony, and Kenosha Symphony Orchestra. And I know this list isn't up to date because he was doing some summer theater in Door County this summer. We're so privileged that he's here to manage and direct our music programs. We are so grateful for you, Ruben, right?
I guess it's my turn. 20 years. Like, to keep a job for 20 years has always felt aspirational to me. You know, like my dad had his job for 40 years. My mom worked very long-term jobs. But for my generation, it's different. We don't have jobs for 5 years, you know? So, but, you know, so like when other jobs and interests have come and gone, that always had a little feeling of disappointment because of that ingrained thought, like, oh, your dad was at his job for 40 years, you know, until the day he retired. But here I am, 20 years in this position, so that's pretty remarkable, I think. Just quickly, I moved to Milwaukee 20 years ago in May of 2003, and I was hired as the choir accompanist for this wonderful choir under the then interim minister, Sam Schall. Tanya Antonsen was the choir director at that time. Some of you probably remember her. That was my first experience in a UU church. I had an awareness of the UUs prior to that, and even in my prior city of Columbus, Ohio, I can't even tell you how many Sundays I was like, I'm going to go visit that congregation one Sunday, and I didn't, so this was my first. I also had previous church jobs in Methodist and Lutheran churches, but they were not satisfying to me because they didn't really match my theology anymore. So I didn't really know what to expect here. Another church job. Well, here I was pleasantly surprised. Here I could be agnostic or atheist or whatever I was working on at the time. I could be openly gay. I could indulge a wide variety of musical interests. And I felt encouraged and accepted and appreciated and seen. And in turn, I have tried to make you feel that way too. I've seen a few ministers come and go, and like you, I am looking forward to our near future with anticipation, a little anxiety, and a lot of excitement as we discern who we are as a congregation in 2023 and search for our next settled minister. You've given me a lot of wonderful opportunities for career and personal growth over the years. I've been an active member of the Association of UU Music Ministries for many years, even on the planning committee when it was held in Madison. And I was in the inaugural class of the Certified Music Leaders program through the UUA. I've attended GA, numerous regional and district assemblies, and here I've directed a variety of musical groups, the choir, multi-generational choirs, children's theater programs, and an orchestra, which we are resurrecting, by the way. Check your announcements for details. And even as my own performance career has taken off and presented frequent scheduling challenges, I keep coming back to UUCW. After 20 years, this place just feels like home. I mean, how many of you are lucky enough to have a job where your job feels like home? It's amazing. And I appreciate and love all of you. Thank you for being you and for being so wonderful to me.
You know, as for me, it's really been such a pleasure to work with you, Ruben. He's so flexible and creative and willing and kind and thoughtful, and he shows up, and he's just there and ready to do things, and I'm just a joy to work with him. I know all of you have had a chance to, I hope you've all had a chance to go to the kudos board and write your personal notes to Ruben. You can still do that. And Ruben, in this envelope is a link to that kudos board, so you can take a look at it, and also some thanks from the board and from me. So we honor and offer our appreciation to Ruben today, not just to let him know how much he's loved, but also to remind ourselves how fortunate we are. It's so wonderful to feel like your cup is just overflowing. It's such a great partnership. Now, a couple of weeks ago, the choir honored Ruben with a party, as you heard, and they prepared several musical and spoken tributes. And with Ruben's video that they made.
Musician, composer,
pianist,
teacher,
healer,
collaborator,
director,
cajoler,
inspiration,
leader,
colleague,
and minister
are some of the titles you've embraced over the last 20 years
at UU Church West.
For those of us in the choir, creative visionary.
Creative visionary should be substituted for the official title of director.
Since you've done so much more,
So much more.
so much more.
So much more than wave your arms in front of a bunch of singers.
Bono was right when he said, music can change the world because it can change people.
It can change people.
And Ruben, you have literally changed the world.
Because you've changed every one of us.
Every one of us.
As individuals
And as a group.
It's been a joy to walk alongside you
During your journey of musical ministry.
This ministry to our congregation demonstrates the sincere love and compassion
that you have for each of us.
That's why we stayed by your side
They supported you.
Some of us for 20 years.
Even the short-timers
Among us know immediately how talented and caring you are as a person.
That's what draws us
That's what draws us
to sing and perform with you.
An infectious laugh.
A theatrical sense of humor.
And the ability to endure our constant whining.
And silliness.
Are not in your job description.
But those are only a few of the qualities
That endear you to us.
How can 20 years
20 years.
20 years.
20 years.
20 years.
20 years.
20 years have flown by so quickly.
There's so many memories we hold in our hearts.
And we hope to make many more beautiful memories
in the next 20 years and beyond. And beyond.
And beyond.
We are so blessed.
To have you as part of our lives.
and community of love.
Congratulations on such an auspicious anniversary.
We love you, dear Ruben.
We love you.
We love you.
dear Ruben.
We love you, Ruben, dear.
We love you, dear Ruben.
We love you, dear Ruben.
We love you. We love you, dear Ruben.
We love you, Ruben.
We love you, dear Ruben.
Thank you, dear Ruben.
So beautiful, it really makes me tear up. But now, before we extinguish the chalice, a little bit of fun because the choir has a song to sing for Ruben.
You're a good man, Ruben P. You're the kind of conductor we need. You have the melody, tonality, and the sense of rhythm that is very rare indeed. You're a good man, Ruben P. And we know just how special you are. It's not hard to believe, and it's easy to perceive what a good man you are. You are kind to all the sopranos and every little bass. With an open mind, you let us all shine. You lead us all with love and joy and grace. You bravely face the congregants. You're cheerful through the day. You're calm and sweet and humorous. And we won't discuss your faults 'cause it's your party, so we'll say that you're a good man, Ruben P. You're the kind of conductor we need. You have the melody, tonality, and the sense of rhythm that is very rare indeed. You're a good man, Ruben P. You're the maestro to this we attest. With a heart that's all for us, you can master any chorus. You can go out and on stage the
My, that's such fun. You are indeed a good man, Ruben P. Today's postlude will be the time we spend together in celebrating Ruben and eating cake. So after our closing words, please allow Barb and I and Ruben to head out to the community room before you, and then just come along and join us. So now as we bring our time to a close, let's together say a silent word of thanks. Feel that gratitude in your heart for Dave and Barb and Lori and all those who made today possible, including the choir, of course, our staff, our RE volunteers, our ushers, our greeters, our coffee makers, and all of you for being here. Our time together matters. We've shown up for one another, and we've been changed. As a benediction, I offer the words of Eric Williams. May you be filled. May you be filled with the blessings of this covenanted community. May you carry them with you as you depart from here. May you discover the places in the world where these blessings are needed. May you have the courage to share them. May there be an open place within you to receive the blessings of the people whom you will meet along the way. Blessed be, Ashe, and Amen.